Meteorite or a zombie invasion. It's just that people built ships for interstellar travel and left our planet because they got bored of being here. And still, many people stayed on Earth. But they just overslept the moment when the last ship with Earthlings left the planet's surface. So, several million of these people were left to wander in a world without infrastructure, electricity, an economy, and the internet. What will they do? How will they behave, and will they be able to survive in this lonely world? To figure it out, we need to look at video games. One company beta tested a new game and then informed the players that after 11 weeks, the server with the game would be deleted. In a sense, the players controlled their characters in a world that was bound to disappear soon. In such a situation, all the achievements in completing quests were meaningless. The developers analyzed the gameplay to understand how people would act in real conditions if the apocalypse was to happen in a few weeks. It was important to see how the players' behavior changed as they were getting closer to the end of the game. Interestingly, there was no chaos in the virtual world. Everyone just played, but they didn't accumulate experience and didn't collect items for leveling up the character. The number of tests passed decreased every day. The characters stopped developing. The players treated each other with respect. It's possible that, in reality, people would also stop thinking about self-improvement, their career, and boosting professional skills. A common problem would unite people and make them help each other. Such research into the simulation of the end of the world can help scientists and sociologists better understand human actions during emergencies and global disasters. So, let's return to those who overslept the departure of the last spaceship. And you're one of them. The first thing you do after realizing what's happened is run to the supermarket for food. Of course, you're not the only one who has come up with such an idea, so you meet many other survivors there. Now you'll have enough food for a couple of months. After that, the real challenge begins. Do you know the phrase that the strongest survives? It's wrong. The most intelligent one doesn't always survive either. Darwin wrote in his works that those who quickly adapt to the environment survive. If some guy knows karate and how to fly an airplane and runs fast, it doesn't mean he will win. Someone who knows how to hide from dangerous animals or can build shelter will survive. Those who are careful and who analyze and adapt to the situation will win. You need to leave the big city and start farming to have a food source. In abandoned stores, you choose books on gardening and growing vegetables. Also, if you eat meat, you will need livestock. When people left the planet, they opened the gates of all farms, so all chickens, cows, turkeys, and other animals went to forests and fields. You need to choose a country house with fertile land. It will be a challenging quest, so you train strength and endurance before you set off on this journey. You don't need to gain muscles, but running daily to improve breathing is an excellent choice. It will be much harder for you to survive if you're alone. Find some company. These should be people you can trust. Building a new society is much easier when there are many of you. You and your team find bicycles and go far out of town. Your water supplies run out along the way, so you go to the river. It's dangerous to drink from it because the water can be poisoned. You use special tablets that dissolve in liquid and destroy all germs. You can also use a bonfire and boil the water. You don't have to hunt to find food. You can find many berries, mushrooms, and edible plants in the forest. But don't eat the first thing you see unless you want to get poisoned. If you have no experience in this area, use special books with instructions about what you can eat in the forest. Always be careful and keep your eyes open. There are bears, wolves, and other dangerous animals in the wilderness. The bear is quite a cowardly beast, and it wants to meet you even less than you do. So in some cases, you need to make noise to scare it away. In addition, it's unlikely that animals will attack a large group of people. Great. You found the right place and started plowing the ground to plant vegetables. Every day, you and your friends go to the forest to catch turkeys and rabbits to create a small farm. You and your team have been working hard for many years to build a small civilization. The basis of any society is laws and rules. You write an extensive list of what is allowed and forbidden in the New World, and your descendants receive this knowledge. Mutual assistance, caring for each other, kindness, and love help the last remaining people on Earth to recreate a new civilization. Soon you get to know different communities, exchange goods with them, and even create a new currency. Of course, among the survivors, some are trying to bring chaos and break the law, but they are a minority, and as a rule, it's difficult for them to survive. In a sense, nature weeds out bad people. Humanity would survive in such conditions. However, if a global catastrophe occurred, people would have much bigger problems. Let's imagine that several large volcanoes started erupting simultaneously, and the continents got flooded by giant tsunamis. To survive in this situation, you'd need a lot of luck. You'd have to get to the roof of a tall building to escape the approaching water. And you would need to find a gas mask or a respiratory mask to breathe the air filled with volcano ash. Few people would be ready for that. Most of the survivors would be people living far from the epicenter of the disaster. When the eruptions and the tsunamis ended, people would begin a struggle for survival. It would be difficult to find food because the disaster would destroy many farms and supermarkets. In addition, many animals in the forests and fields would suffer from cataclysms. But you would still need to leave the city and look for a place to build a new life. Perhaps you'd have to sail a boat for several years, or walk around in a protective suit and a gas mask to save yourself from poisonous volcanic gases. But in any case, you would need to travel a lot and look for food somewhere. This time, there would be no forests and fields where you could catch a turkey or pick berries. Cataclysms would destroy all vegetation and flood almost the entire planet. To survive, you'd have to search for some canned food and fish, and cooperate with other people. But would people be able to fully restore the population in such conditions? Scientists conducted some studies and found that several hundred people would be able to continue the human race for centuries to come. But only if they found a safe place where there would be no natural disasters. It could be a small island or a small town built on water. Our ancestors managed to survive difficult times, an ice age and volcanic winters. For example, 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, people began to engage in agriculture. Small villages of several hundred to 1,000 people began appearing worldwide. They formed marriage bonds between villages to expand their families. Genetic diversity is necessary for successful population growth, so settling in one small village wouldn't be enough. People would have to look for other survivors worldwide and unite in large communities. Only then would humanity have a chance.
You're flying over the Pacific Ocean when suddenly a storm hits the plane, causing it to shake. The aircraft begins to descend and you lose control. You quickly put on a parachute, eject yourself from the plane, and land on an island. It's a good thing you were the only one on the plane transporting some goods overseas. Luckily enough, the storm hasn't damaged your parachute. You unstrap yourself and head to the closest shelter under some palm trees. You're waiting for the storm to be over. The next day, the sun is shining and the waves seem nice and friendly. You wake up and look around. Nothing but a large stretch of water encircling you from all directions. Not a boat, human, or another living being is around. You scout the island, trying to find anything. You don't even know what you're looking for. On one side of the small island, you see some scrap metal and remnants of the plane washed ashore. You rush over there and try to see if there's anything useful. Too bad everything is destroyed. However, one sealed box has made it. You open it and see dozens of duct tape rolls piled on top of each other. After going through the island, you head back to your camp, dragging the box of duct tape. You try to figure out what to do. Soon, you get a light bulb moment. There are some places on the island that are hard to access, and since your shoes have been damaged, you fashion out some sandals. To do it, you grab some branches and try to use duct tape to make a new pair of shoes. After many failed attempts, you almost give up. But then, you attach some duct tape to pieces of tree bark that are roughly the size of your foot. Those are going to be the soles of your new shoes. The duct tape is smooth and won't hurt your feet. After adding several branches, you wrap the duct tape around your feet, and voila! You have duct tape sandals. Now you can venture into the rocky parts of the island without damaging your feet. As you walk along the island, you start feeling the heat. You wrap your shirt around your head, but it's not enough to protect you. You use some duct tape to create a hat with the help of leaves. Then you place it on your head. You're now safe to go. After a while, you bring back some stuff you found around the island. By this time, you've started to feel that your tummy is rumbling. Next, at a rocky reef, you spot some large yummy crabs and fish, but you can't catch them with your bare hands. You grab a long branch, take some palm tree leaves, and tie everything together to make a net. You then use the duct tape to reinforce it and head to the reef. You're wearing your makeshift sandals and the hat to protect your head and carrying the net to catch some fish. So far, you've only used 2 rolls of duct tape. After a while, you manage to catch some fish and crabs and take them back to the camp. You make a fire and start grilling your catch. You're sitting on a log, but such a seat isn't too comfortable. You take some duct tape and make a mat for yourself. Once the food is ready, you feast on it. Now another problem: water. There's no fresh water around, but a storm is coming. Meanwhile, you take some coconuts and eat dessert while drinking coconut milk to freshen up. You prepare a small hut by gathering branches and leaves and duct taping them together so that water can't seep into your new home. At the same time, you create a funnel out of duct tape to collect rainwater. After getting into the funnel, the water is collected in a makeshift pond, also made out of duct tape. At this point, you've used almost half of the duct tape rolls. The storm starts brewing, and you stay inside your hut, where you have your new floor mat. You're bored, so you create a chair and table out of duct tape to make the hut a little comfier. It starts raining, and you notice that some water has gathered in the reservoir you built. You immediately drink it, using a coconut shell as a glass. Your hut manages to withstand the storm, and you catch some Z's on your comfy mat. The next day, you check the duct tape supply and see that you are now halfway to finishing your last roll of tape. You've made a secured and solid hut and have a steady food supply from the reef. You've already spent 5 days on the island, so now it's time to find a way out. You've tried your best to seek help, but nothing. Not a plane or ship in sight. You're desperate to get out, and you're lucky. You spot a cargo ship very far off in the distance. You need to act quickly. After reviewing your box of duct tape, you decide to create a raft to sail away. You gather enough food and water for the journey and get to work. You start by collecting large logs for a base and setting them side by side. You have some rope made from tree bark and leaves to tie the logs together. It's big enough to fit you. You then get another set of logs and place them on top of the base and repeat the same process to create a second layer. This way, you minimize the risk of sinking. In the end, you duct tape all weak spots to reinforce your raft. You use some branches to create oars for rowing with paddles made out of duct tape. You see that you've used around 75% of your supply, including the tape you used to construct the hut and furniture. It's not as strong as fresh duct tape, but it still does the job. After the base and oars are finished, you create a small hut to shelter your food and supplies and protect them from waves. Also, you make a mast out of wood and use a piece of cloth as a sail. You put the raft on the water and begin rowing. So far, so good. You open the sail and take a break from rowing. You turn around and take a look at the island that has been your home for the past 5 days. You're going on a dangerous journey, risking it all. But if you remain on the island for too long, then you definitely won't make it. It's been an hour already, and the island is barely visible. But the ship is getting closer. You still have one more roll of duct tape to use in emergency situations. The waters are calm, and you see dolphins swimming around. You snack on some fish and drink some water before noticing that the waves have gotten larger. You prepare your sail and duck for cover. It's a good thing your raft is sturdy. Large waves crash against it, knocking off some of your food and water, but the raft is still in one piece. As time passes, the sun begins to set, and there's still no sign of life. You use the rest of the duct tape to repair the raft. Even though you lost some food during the storm, you have your net to catch more fish. You start a small and safe bonfire in a coconut shell, cook the fish, and start eating. You turn around and spot a ship coming your way. You immediately grab a branch, light it, and start waving it for the ship to see you. It looks like it will miss you, but then someone on the ship notices you. They drop down an emergency boat to pick you up and rescue you. It's safe to say that duct tape has truly saved your life.
Welcome back to Science and You. As you're walking in the wild, a snake appears from some dry bushes and bites you above your ankle. How rather unfortunate. Keep calm. You must keep your heart rate and blood pressure low to slow down the spread of the venom. Remove your shoes and socks. Now, you must find out whether the bite came from a venomous or non-venomous snake. If you see 2 deep puncture wounds on your leg, they came from the venomous fellow's fangs. In a non-venomous serpent's bite, you'll see small sharp teeth in a U shape. There are around 600 venomous snake species, and you should look out for vipers and cobras. Each has a different type of venom and needs different treatments. If a viper bites you, don't put pressure on your wound. Trapping the venom in one area could make the tissue damage worse. Then, you must rush to the nearest hospital for treatment. If a cobra bites someone, you must tie the area with a bandage to stop the venom from going further into their system. Keep an eye on the fella that was bitten to make sure they're breathing. Yes, cobra venom can paralyze the diaphragm. Don't suck out the venom. It travels so fast into someone's system, you'll achieve nothing. Take a good look at the snake, and if you can, snap a few photos of it to show the medical staff. Try to have good picture composition. Moving on from snakes to allergies. Most people respond to allergens with a runny nose or some sneezing, but others have far more complicated responses. An itchy rash may be a sign of an allergic reaction. It might look like dermatitis, and it can show up a week after your exposure to an allergen. There was a rare case a few years ago. Someone got braces for the first time, and after a week, they developed an itchy rash under their wristwatch and stomach. As it turned out, they were allergic to the nickel in braces. If you get blisters on your skin after sitting in the sun for 1 to 2 hours, it's probably not sunburn, but an allergic reaction. You may also have some skin redness, tiny raised bumps, and scaling. When that happens, go to the emergency room fast. Experts will run tests and give you advice on how to continue from there. Sometimes different medications might cause it too, or fruits such as limes and parsnips can. If you're allergic to pollen, stay away from fruits and veggies. Some of them have proteins like the ones found in pollen, and your immune system responds to it as real pollen. They can trigger the same allergy symptoms such as itchiness, swelling of the mouth, face, and, well, you know the gist. You're trapped in a car during a winter storm. Outside it's freezing, and you begin to shiver. That's a good thing. When temperatures drop below a comfortable level, your body starts to shake. This action boosts your body's surface heat production by 500%. But shivering can only warm you up for so long. After a while, your muscles will run out of fuel and they'll stop contracting. If someone suddenly stops shaking and they grow tired and want to fall asleep, act fast. Bring them indoors, remove any wet clothes, rub their hands and feet, wrap them in blankets, and find warm, dry compresses to apply to their chest, neck, or lower tummy. Never put a warm compress on their arms or legs. The sudden heat will force cold blood back to the heart, brains, and lungs, causing the body's core temperature to drop. While you're driving down an empty road, you hear an emergency radio broadcast about the weather. A tornado watch in your area means that a tornado is likely to happen. But a tornado warning means a tornado has appeared on the radar or has been spotted in person. You should also be on the lookout for hail. It appears when updrafts within a thunderstorm push the rain into the thick clouds and it freezes. But when a tornado is approaching, hail can arrive without rain. Then, everything gets quiet. The air becomes still, and there's no wind. Suddenly, you'll see the clouds moving quickly in a rotating pattern or toward the sky. You'll hear a loud waterfall sound that will turn into a roar as the tornado gets close. It'll be similar to the sound of trains and jets. Debris will begin to fall, and a funnel-shaped cloud will start to rotate, pulling branches and leaves upwards. If the tornado is not moving to either the left or the right, it might be coming towards you, and you won't realize it until it's too close. Take shelter. Just as you're chilling at home watching TV, you hear an eerie whooshing noise. It sounds like a soft gush of wind, but you confirm there's nothing there after checking all the doors. The next day, you feel pressure in your chest, and it gets worse as the week progresses. The chest pains follow with a dreaded feeling of exhaustion. You can't help but think there's something wrong with your body. But the problems are within your house. You might have carbon monoxide poisoning. When this gas fills your home, it builds up in your bloodstream and it replaces the oxygen in your body. Poisoning can also cause headaches, nausea, and confusion. In those cases, run outside to get fresh air and call emergency service. Also, get a carbon monoxide detector and add it in the hallway or areas where you sleep. Check the batteries twice a year, and when the alarm goes off, step outside and you know who to call. You go ice skating. The ice on the lake seems thicker than it was, and you hear a cracking snap, and you end up in the icy water. First, your body will go into shock because of the sudden change in temperature. Don't worry, it will pass after 1 to 3 minutes. Now, you must find a solid piece of ice and hold on to it. Don't try to climb it. Just put your arms on it, kick your legs, and push the piece forward. It will help you drag your body onto the ice. Once you're on an ice sheet, don't stand up. If you do, your body weight will concentrate on the smaller ice area and it'll break again. Just keep rolling until you're further on the stable ground. What if you have to break the window of a hot car? Car windows have layers of materials that can resist force. Here's what you need to do. Avoid the back windows or the front windshield of the car. They're harder to break. Go for the passenger and driver's side windows. If you've got a hammer, don't hit the glass in the middle. Aim for the edges, where the glass breaks easily. Now, if the windows refuse to break with a hammer, screwdriver, or whatever you've got around, look for a small, pointy rock. If that doesn't work either, then your best bet is your car's spark plug. Pop your hood, pull out the spark plug, break the porcelain casing, and throw the broken ceramic piece anywhere at the window. It's the middle of summer, and you're vacationing somewhere on the Pacific Rim. Suddenly, you feel a strong quake. Well, this could be the first warning sign of an approaching tsunami. Or it could trigger large waves thousands of miles across. But there are other telltale signs that a tsunami is approaching. One is a change in water levels, either rising or falling. If you see the ocean withdrawing quickly and the seabed getting exposed, you should run at least 100 feet above sea level and 1 mile inland. Many experts say once the seawater starts receding, you've got 5 minutes to evacuate before the enormous wave hits. Remember, it's all about science and you.
Yep, I think it's safe to say that falling from any height can be really dangerous, but especially when you've tumbled out of an airplane, and worse, without a parachute. Now, the trick here is to create drag to slow your descent. Use your shirt, pants, or do an air snow angel. Anything to slow you down a little bit. But hey, you've always wanted to make an impact, right? Well, check this out. A Yugoslavian woman was working as a flight attendant. She survived an incredible fall on January 26, 1972, after the plane she was working on exploded. Falling from a height of 33,000 feet, she managed to survive but spent the next year and a half recovering after waking up from her coma. Experts disagree on the right way to land, but there's definitely a wrong way, landing on your head. Do you remember the rule of 3 for us squishy human beings? That's you and me, by the way. 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. It's a great guideline, but some people manage to stretch it out a bit further. If watching a sunset, smelling flowers, or ordering that big juicy hamburger is important to you, well, you better start thanking that delightful gas, oxygen. Don't believe me? Try doing even one of those things without it. 2 minutes without oxygen will cause the average human to pass out. After 10 minutes, well, there isn't usually a comeback to her. This varies, of course, from person to person, depending on their fitness levels, but we love to push the boundaries as humans, don't we? The longest someone held their breath for was an outstanding 24 minutes 3.45 seconds, give or take. That's 100 times longer than the first airplane flight. Take that, Wright brothers. Alex Segura Vendrell from Spain pushed the limits of breath holding in 2016 by floating in a controlled pool environment. Just before going under, he was gulping in air like a fish to try to get as much oxygen as possible. Strangely, holding your breath underwater is easier than trying it on dry land. Swimming activates your diver's reflex, slowing down our heart rate and metabolism. Not only is oxygen important, so is precious H2O and tasty food. Each cell in our body needs water to survive. If we can't replace the water lost quickly, we only have about 3 days to a week before it's all over. How humid the air is, our age, physical activity, and health play a huge part in water retention in our bodies. When we're running low on water, the important areas of our body, like the heart and brain, pull water from wherever it can. Like a sponge, these organs soak up everything until there's nothing left. In 1979, an Austrian man in a holding cell lasted 18 days without water. He allegedly licked condensation off the prison walls to stay hydrated. What's the scariest thing in the universe? The fridge is empty! Where's all the food? Without any calories, your body starts to feed on itself. Not exactly the diet I had planned for this year. During the first few days, our carbohydrate reserves are turned into glucose. When that's all used up, our body starts to target fat, muscle, and other proteins, all the way down to the bones. Fasting is a common way to let our bodies use those extra reserves inside of us. Mahatma Gandhi's longest of many fasts lasted 21 days. The longest known fast was when a 27-year-old lived off water and vitamin supplements for 382 days and shrank from 456 to 180 pounds. Yow! Our bodies are equipped to survive without food for long periods. Our ancestors didn't exactly have a supermarket to go to. This makes us pretty good at dealing with starvation. We humans can cope with many extreme survival situations. But how long can you swim in freezing water without turning into a popsicle? What happens if you're stuck in the desert or at the top of a mountain? Climbing the peaks of the world, like the Rocky Mountains, the Swiss Alps, or even Mount Everest, is challenging on a good day, but the real danger is altitude sickness. It affects about half of all climbers. Starting at roughly 1.5 miles up, the lack of oxygen can cause dizziness, tiredness, and headaches for some. Others can even get insomnia. This is just the start of a whole bunch of symptoms that affect our bodies. Consciousness becomes a big problem for most people at 3 miles up without proper preparation. Ascending too quickly can even lead to fluid in your lungs or even worse. The thing about altitude sickness is that it doesn't care if you're old or young, male or female, a couch potato or an athlete. Everest is 5.5 miles high and the ultimate challenge for climbers. It's like hiking up 20 Empire State Buildings or 2 times the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Austrian Felix Baumgartner pushed the altitude tolerance limit on October 14, 2012. He jumped from 128,000 feet up. That's nearly 24 miles. It's no surprise that he's also the first skydiver to go faster than the speed of sound, reaching a mind-boggling 833 miles per hour. He definitely had the right equipment, like a pressure suit with oxygen and safety checks in place, which goes to show you, if you're going up high, remember the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Surviving extreme heat isn't just about the temperature. Humidity is the real danger to us. The less humid the air is, the more water stays where it belongs, in our body. Ever walked into the sauna and realized that it's over 230 degrees? That's so hot and humid, you'd probably only last about 3 to 4 minutes max. Wait, humans can't melt, right? Above 104 degrees, there's a real chance of heat stroke. It doesn't sound like a big change from our usual body temperature, but it is. Just imagine getting caught in a desert for a few days. And not just any desert, the world's hottest. The hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth was in Nevada, a crazy 134 degrees. Cooling way down really quickly can help relieve cramps, headaches, and even nausea. But breathing can become kinda impossible once your organs start to shut down and hypothermia sets in. As soon as our bodies drop below our natural body temperature, our muscles start to stiffen. That's why you stop feeling cold and pain after a while. There just aren't any nerve endings functioning anymore. Shivering quickly to produce heat is our body's natural way to keep our organs warm. This only works for cold air though. In cold water, shivering drains your body heat even faster. If you've never heard of the 300 Club, you're not alone. A base in Antarctica has found a great way to test the extreme limits of the human body in the most peculiar way. Participants at the station warm up in the sauna, which is heated to 200 degrees. Then they pull on their boots and run outside, where it's minus 100. Not only do they have to endure the 300-degree temperature change, but they've also got to run around the South Pole before coming back to the sauna to warm up again. Oh, am I tired? Time for a little snooze. Sleep is very important. Maybe that's why getting out of bed in the morning is so tough. We need sleep to recharge our body from the long day we've just had, leaving us refreshed and alert when we hear that alarm. Our brain can turn all fuzzy without enough sleep, and a good 8 hours is perfect for a healthy immune system. Sleeping improves our memory, our heart, and puts us in a better mood for the day. Randy Gardner and his friends tried to test the limits of staying awake. It was for their science fair project. They managed to stay awake and functioning for 11 days and 25 minutes. Even when tested during and after the experiment, Randy could play basketball and had no abnormal brainwaves. Now, it's almost impossible to calculate the exact G-force that would harm a human. That's because there are 3 types of G-force out there: side to side, up and down, and forward and backward. The danger lies in how long we have to sit there while we're being thrown around like a rag doll. The longer we sit there, the more it affects our bodies. We experience G-force at home simply by sitting down on the couch too quickly, sneezing, or having someone slap our back a little too hard. Pilot John Stapp demonstrated that a human can withstand over 40 Gs. That's nearly 10 times the amount an average racing driver feels. The experiment only went on for a few seconds, but for an instant, his body weighed almost 7,000 pounds. Survival isn't always about taking on the elements. Sometimes it's fighting against time. The current record for the longest living human is Gene Kalman, who was born in 1875.
You're sitting on the balcony, fiddling with your phone, when suddenly, everything around you starts to turn to dust. Gaping, you put your phone down. You see cars, bicycles, sidewalks, street, and traffic lights disappear right in front of your eyes. People in the street are panicking and running in different directions. You glance at your watch, and it vanishes too. You turn to look at your room through the balcony door and see that all your furniture is turning to dust. You look back at the street and see nothing but a dust storm. Your house starts shaking. You run downstairs and stand in the middle of the road. You're just in time to see the buildings in your neighborhood fade away. You tried to get into your car, but in the next moment, there's nothing in the place where it was standing just a second ago. You check your phone and see several notifications about the world going on a full reset. Everything humans have ever created is now disappearing. You're still holding your phone when it gets lighter and lighter, until it's completely gone. The same process is happening all around the world. The Eiffel Tower, the pyramids of Giza, the Empire State Building. They have all vanished. You tried to find somewhere to hide until this disaster ends. 2 years later, you wake up in a cave, together with other people. Everything humans have produced throughout the centuries of hard work has disappeared from the face of the earth. Everything that's left behind is people, animals, and nature. Your city is now a massive plain of barren land with a few trees scattered here and there. Your community consists of your former barber, a comic book store manager, local baker, and your neighbors and friends. You head out of the cave to pick up some crops you planted earlier in the season. There's not a building in sight that would obstruct your view. You can see the mountains miles away. That's where the nearest town used to be. And over there, that's the ocean where you once went jogging by the bay. The land is swarming with wildlife. Plenty of raccoons, badgers, possums, and wild cats roam the neighborhood. Next to your tiny garden, there's a large bonfire where you cook food and have your night gatherings. Not too far away, you can see a well. Once, there was an old piping network down there. But when the world reset, it disappeared. The only thing that remained underground was the water that you now use for drinking. Your local police officer is the leader of the community. He stands on a log and says you've only got a week left before the water runs out completely. You'll need to move to another location with a new source of water. You finish your work and take a quick nap because you're on night duty. You walk around the perimeter. There's no light pollution anymore, and stars are gleaming above your head. 2 other people are also patrolling the area. Suddenly, you see something running in the distance. You look closely and spot a fox. It's heading to your chicken coop. You run toward the animal and shoo it off. Finally, it's the moving day. Everyone packs their stuff in bags made of rope and begins walking. You've got only one horse carrying supplies and water for everyone. It's going to take around a week on foot to reach the lakes. You make your way through the plain, which used to be a highway leading to the next state. It's scorching hot, and your group is moving very slowly. Along the way, you meet other nomadic caravans that trade goods with you. At night, you set up camp next to an old gas station. The building is gone, but the foundation is still there. A week later, you finally make it to the mountains near the lake and enter the forest. You have to walk uphill almost all the way. Soon, it gets too dark. You have to make camp under the cover of old trees. It's a cold night, and the members of your group gather around a campfire. You're back to your night duty when everyone falls asleep. You scout the area and hear some growling sounds. You look around and spot a bear. You duck down and try not to make any noise. Suddenly, you notice that next to you, there's a little bear cub. It's curiously sniffing the air just a dozen of feet away from you. The mama bear roars, calling its kid. You back up slowly. Everything is fine until you accidentally step on a branch. The cub starts wailing. Its mom leaps out from behind the trees and spots you. The massive creature stands up on its hind legs and roars. People in the camp wake up in a panic. You run back with the bear right behind you. The leader and the rest of the night patrol manage to scare the furious animal off. You've got tons of experience with foxes and raccoons, but bears are a whole new thing. You realize that you're not at the top of the food chain anymore. The next day, you proceed with extreme caution. Lots of wild animals, like mountain lions and bobcats, are lurking around. You finally make it to the other side of the mountain and see the lake. It's a large area that used to be a public camping spot. Now, there are a couple of settlements built near the water. Your community isn't that big. That's why you settle near the river flowing out of the lake. You build a hut next to the waterfall and continue to work as a farmer. You meet amazing people from other settlements. They used to be scientists, engineers, musicians, doctors. The scientists are trying to figure out a way to rebuild the society based on technology, but it's likely to take decades. They've made the first step by creating a clay oven, pots, and pans. They've also built a dock on the lake and canoes for fishing and transportation. A couple of months pass. You've constructed an irrigation system that uses lake water. The engineers in the settlement have even made a piping system. It delivers fresh water to every house. Now, these specialists are constructing a small dam to generate electricity, but that might take months to do. The settlement is growing bigger with each next week. New huts are being built all the time. A carpenter has created a workshop to make furniture and tools. You no longer have to be on night duty and can focus entirely on your crops. Ever since everything humans had created vanished, people have been much healthier and stronger than before. No one sits in their hut with their eyes on the phone or TV screen. The smog that used to cover cities has disappeared. Marine life is thriving. There's no pollution. And trees are now growing in places that were once deforested. Everyone travels on foot or by horses and donkeys. People have been breeding these animals for transportation, so there are plenty of them around. And the economy has changed, with everyone offering their labor in return for food or other things they need. All people have to contribute if they want to live in settlements. There are some nomads who stay alone, but it's not easy to survive in the wild without help. That's why these people mainly work as merchants. They deliver goods between settlements that are too far away from one another. To entertain themselves, people role-play parts of old classic movies in front of an audience. Someone managed to make guitars, flutes, and percussion instruments from scratch. Now, you can listen to concerts at night. You find a beautiful spot to do some drawing. You use natural ink and leaves instead of paper. Suddenly, you spot something sticking out of the ground. You pick it up and examine the familiar, almost perfect shape. In a moment, you're already rushing back to your hut to wash off the dirt. Someone tries to check what you're doing, but you make sure no one sees your find. Finally, it's clean. Your suspicion is confirmed. It's a smartphone. It's the first evidence of the past technological progress which hasn't disappeared. You try to get it to work, and the gadget actually does turn on. You read a text on the phone, and it reveals the truth behind everything created by people turning to dust.
You're trudging up a steep sand dune, 1 foot in front of the other. Out of breath, exhausted. You've lost too much water, and your body is beginning to shut down. You know you can't go on for much longer. Finally, you reach the top of the dune, and there before you is what you didn't want to see. It's so horrible that it takes seconds to sink in. Stretching to the horizon is a literal sea of endless sand dunes. You're stranded, alone, lost, far from salvation on the planet Arrakis. There's really nothing more breathtaking than the fantastical worlds created in science fiction, from planets of ice to lush luminescent jungles. While this particular planet may only exist in literary and cinematic outer space, Arrakis is not a place you want to take your family to for a picnic. For those of you who haven't seen the 2021 movie Dune, don't worry, I won't spoil it for you. You may not have seen the 1984 version either, or the miniseries from 2000, several computer games, or read the 6 novels by its original creator, Frank Herbert. And yet, you know that much of the action in Dune takes place on the desert planet of Arrakis. No cute robots there, only harsh temperatures, and somewhere beneath the dunes, giant sandworms. And when I say giant, I mean massive. They can be up to 1,400 feet long, a third longer than the Earth's largest creature, the blue whale. Scientists wanted to know if people could survive on a planet of endless sand dunes. But before I talk about what they did, let's discover a little more about the planet itself. Arrakis is already populated by a people known as the Fremen. They are native to the planet and have adapted to survive its severe desert landscapes. They created a full-body outfit called a still suit. It's designed to preserve the body's natural moisture, such as sweating. It filters the impurities and circulates them back into catch pockets as drinkable water. Probably doesn't taste amazing, but it'll keep you alive. A still suit in good condition can allow the wearer to survive in the searing desert for weeks. If you or I were to be dropped on Arrakis, or indeed any desert environment, what would happen? It really depends on the temperature. Obviously, the hotter it is, the harsher the impact on your body. The first stage of dehydration is thirst. This occurs after you've lost 2% in body weight. You'll already begin to feel unwell. Water makes up 60 to 70% of the human body. In a hot environment, the body can lose up to 0.4 to 0.8 gallons of water per hour. You'll start to sweat less and your body temperature will rise. Your blood will become thicker and harder to maintain oxygen levels. Your heart rate will increase. You'll start to overheat like an old car, making you more tired and less able to function. By the time you've lost 4% of your body weight, fainting will occur. By 7%, organ failure begins. You get the picture. Pity that you didn't have a still suit. Thankfully, the movies don't physically transport us to such a place, so we can sit comfortably eating our popcorn and downing a large drink. I always get thirsty watching movies set in a desert. A group of British climate scientists must be passionate Dune fans because they decided to explore this planet in their spare time for fun. They built an actual 3D digital climate model of Arrakis. First, they collected all the data on Arrakis they could find. They scoured the Dune fandom wiki, as well as the incredible Dune Encyclopedia, a book with thousands of cross-referenced entries that took 8 years to compile. What they learned is that the atmosphere of Arrakis is made up of nitrogen and oxygen, enough for human life to exist. A good start. The planet's surface is almost entirely dry deserts. Yet there are also mountain ranges that shelter the planet's limited indigenous life forms, such as the Fremen. The giant sandworms that inhabit the planet also contribute to the planet's unique ecosystem. Their internal workings are like that of a blast furnace. They produce intense heat and in turn supply oxygen to the almost plantless world. Just don't get in their way if they're out for a Sunday stroll. Located deep within the mountains of the planet are water reserves. There are also small amounts of water in the form of vapor in the atmosphere. This water is harvested via wind troughs. The polar regions have a milder climate and are more hospitable to humans compared to the vast, desolate wastelands of sand dunes. Thanks to those regions, Arrakis' overall geography makes it a relatively habitable planet, in theory. To find out if the geography and environment of Arrakis was physically possible or merely a set of fictional ideas, the scientists had to turn to a climate model. Fortunately, such technology already exists. It's used to predict weather and other climate factors. The scientists told the climate model everything they knew about Arrakis, including the planet's orbit and what the atmosphere consisted of. It's similar to Earth, though with slightly less carbon dioxide. The biggest difference in atmosphere is that Arrakis has a much larger ozone concentration, 0.5% of its atmosphere, compared to just 600,000ths of our own. With all of this complex data, they needed a giant supercomputer to process it. Even then, it took an incredible 3 weeks to get the results, but it was worth the wait. What they discovered was that in the warmest months of Arrakis, the temperature reached around 113 degrees Fahrenheit in the tropics. In the coldest months, the weather didn't go below 59 degrees Fahrenheit, not too dissimilar to Earth. In spite of that, the most extreme temperatures would actually be in the mid-latitudes and also in the polar regions, while the summers would be as hot as 158 degrees Fahrenheit, which is aligned with the book. The winters would be just as extreme, going from negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit in the mid-latitudes to as low as negative 103 degrees Fahrenheit at the poles. That's even colder than Alaska. How is this possible? The model showed that the polar regions of Arrakis have a much higher atmospheric moisture and high cloud cover, which would increase the temperature, as water vapor is considered a greenhouse gas. The book also mentions that there are polar ice caps, certainly in the northern hemisphere. In spite of that, the model revealed that the summer temperatures would melt any polar ice. Further to that, there would be no snowfall to replace the ice caps in winter. So much for a snowy winter's vacation. Another disparity is that no rain falls on Arrakis. Again, the model says otherwise. It proved that there would be rain, although only in small amounts. The rain would occur in summer and fall. It would primarily be confined to mountains and plateaus. There would be cloud cover in the polar latitudes and tropics as well. The scientists then posed the question that everybody really wanted to know: can humans legitimately survive on Arrakis? Realistically, the tropics would be the most hospitable place for people to live. Even so, most people in the Dune world live in the mid-latitudes, where the hottest temperatures occur. Not very smart. The average monthly temperatures would be 120 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. This would be lethal for humans, even with still suits. While the body would be kept cooler in line with the outfit's design, the skin is still exposed to the sun and heat. Not only would you look like a lobster, you'd probably fry. Youch! Life outside of the tropics in winter would also be impossible without technology. The cities would suffer extreme conditions in both winter and summer, akin to intense locations on Earth, like Siberia, which has brutal winters. Not the best locations in which to build your cities. No one could find fault with Frank Herbert, though, who passed away in 1986. His first Dune novel was published in 1965, though he'd already begun thinking about it in the late 1950s. He had visited the Oregon dunes and became fascinated by the movement of the sand dunes. He realized that without some type of vegetation, or poverty grasses which the Department of Agriculture was trying to introduce, the sand could move incredible distances. And with such force, it could swallow whole highways, lakes, and even cities. All of this was years before a man called Syukuro Manabe published the world's first climate model in 1967. In 2021, Manabe shared the Nobel Prize in Physics, the same year he turned 90, for the modeling of Earth's climate and predicting global warming. What a legend! Taking all of this into account, Frank Herbert wasn't far off the mark when it came to his fascinating world of Arrakis. While not strictly scientifically accurate, Arrakis is a realistic planet and humans could indeed live there. Just make sure you apply a thick layer of sunscreen in the summer. Herbert's novel Dune has sold millions and is considered one of the most influential science fiction novels of all time. His son Brian, already an author, took up the Dune mantle in 1999. He, along with author Kevin J. Anderson, have written many more novels in the Dune universe. The fascinating legacy lives on. Next time you plan on visiting Arrakis, please don't go in the summer. And make sure to bring your still suit. Water's pretty expensive. Our Sun. Scenario 1. Something strange just happened now. Every TV channel, the news, they're all talking about a black hole that came closer to us, on the spot where our sun used to be. You can even see an accretion disk, and the background of the sky looks kind of distorted, which means it got really close. Normally, black holes are so far away that we can't see them with the unaided eye. You can't even see them with a telescope directly. What's it doing here so close? And where's the sun? Did the black hole swallow it? The sun used to be in the center of our solar system, far enough not to burn us, but still close enough to give us light, warmth, and beautiful scenes when it rises in the east and goes to rest in the west. Hey, this one even rhymes. Well, it gave us life. The most massive body in our solar system contains 99.8% of its total mass. It's so wide, you could fit more than 1 million Earths inside of the sun. Maybe our sun turned into a black hole. but it's way too early for that to happen. I mean, that's how they form. When enormous stars come to the end of their life cycle and explode, which is called a supernova, they end up collapsing on themselves, becoming very small. It's a tiny size and a huge mass. That's what makes black holes' gravity so strong, and even light that comes too close can't escape. And all the stars in the universe are shrinking and will disappear at some moment. Our sun loses 4 million tons of mass every second, and eventually, the only energy left in the universe will be generated by black holes. A black hole is surrounded by dust, gas, and radiation. The radiation is very dangerous, so we hope our planet won't come near it. Our solar system doesn't have light anymore. No light and no heat either, so even Mercury and Venus will probably get covered in ice pretty soon, not to mention Earth. Do I need to say nothing will survive this new ice age? The only salvation might come from the accretion disk that spins so fast it generates heat, but that's too many chances to take. Still, at least if the black hole has the same exact mass as the sun before it, all the planets will remain in the same orbits, Earth included. But if it has a mass bigger than our sun, which is something our scientists are currently trying to figure out, then bye-bye, solar system. It was nice knowing you. Scenario 2. Oh no, what's happening? It was supposed to be a nice sunny day, but now you see darkness descending so abruptly. How come it's night, yet the clock says it's 2 p.m., and the moon looks different? The TV reports say our sun is gone, and due to some mysterious events, the moon is not orbiting the Earth anymore. It's in the center of our solar system now. We don't have much time left. Since the sun is not in the center of our solar system, we now have 8 minutes and 20 seconds to become aware of it. It may take millions of years for the sun's energy to travel from its core to the surface, but 8 minutes and 20 seconds is exactly how long it takes for sunlight to reach Earth. The light takes a journey across 93 million miles, which is the distance that separates us from the sun. We're not in the habitable zone anymore. The habitable zone is the distance from a star, in our case, the sun, at which liquid water could exist on the surface of a planet. Now that the sun's gone, its light won't reach us anymore, and our planet will gradually become a frozen, lifeless rock. Who knows if we'll have enough time to come up with some technologies that would provide us with the solar energy we need to sustain life on Earth. If not, well, millions or billions of years later, scientists from some other civilizations would explore it, trying to find evidence if life ever even existed there. It would be the same as we do with Mars and other planets in our solar system, trying to figure out if they've always been lifeless or if there might be a sign that some organisms used to live there. Something else, also vital for our life, travels at the speed of light. Gravity. Without the sun, for roughly 8 more minutes, the planets would continue circling the empty center of our solar system until the clock ticks and they finally drift somewhere into an unknown direction of outer space. Our moon doesn't have a strong enough gravity to keep us in place. It can't shine so brightly to give us warmth and support life. It's so far, we can barely see it now. Without the moon that peacefully travels close to our planet as it used to, we can see tides are getting lower incredibly fast. Oh, and it's becoming really windy. Winds are so much stronger and faster now. When things were normal, our planet sat at a 23.5 degree tilt, which is the reason we had changing weather and seasons. Now the tilt is so extreme, it's getting very cold, very fast. And our time is almost up. People are screaming, everyone's in panic. We still have maybe 1 minute left until we sink into eternal darkness. Scenario number 3. We're not sure what exactly happened and how the life we carelessly lived yesterday came to an end. No one could predict it, but it seems that, out of nowhere, a giant neutron star took the spot where our sun used to be. It's not something we'd recognize on our own. We just noticed something was different, and the sun kinda got smaller and weirder. The rest we heard on the news, and no one knows how it happened. Maybe our sun is somewhere behind the neutron star, or the star pushed it out of our solar system and into an unknown direction. A neutron star is the densest space object we know about. It has almost twice as much mass as our sun, but it's all squeezed into a star only 10 miles, 15 kilometers, across, which is about the size of a city on Earth. A neutron star forms when a huge star runs out of fuel. It collapses in a big explosion. Its very central region, the core, collapses, which is why every electron, negatively charged particle, and proton, positively charged particle, crush together into a neutron, which is either uncharged or neutrally charged. We're in a very tricky situation now, basically waiting for our end to come. This neutron star has gravity 2 billion times stronger than the one Earth has. This means our new sun will pull all the planets in our solar system towards itself and eventually destroy them. It's already started. For the first time that we know of, the planets are leaving their stable orbits, attracted by the powerful force of the neutron star. It's becoming chaotic pretty fast. And it won't stop there. A neutron star rotates more than 700 times every second, which is incredibly fast. Our sun rotates once every 27 days. So, after it destroys all the planets, including us, this star will continue whirling throughout the universe at about 1/5 the speed of light. Maybe it will slow down and fizzle out with time, but maybe not. After thousands of years, many neutron stars begin to slow down and blow out. But that doesn't always happen. If it meets another star, it will orbit it and start to feed off its atmosphere until it collapses at some point and turns into a giant black hole. Our sun was going to burn out anyway. Until the neutron star showed up, the sun was 4.6 billion years old, which was about halfway through its lifespan. It had already burned off about half of its hydrogen stores and had enough supplies for another 5 billion years. It was eventually supposed to end up the size of the Earth. After running out of fuel, it would have simply collapsed. It would have retained its enormous mass, but its volume was going to be similar to that of our planet. No sun, no life, so the result would have been basically the same. But this way, it would have been a slow process. Who knows if humans would even inhabit this solar system in those times? But with neutron stars, things move towards the end pretty quickly, and it's way more chaotic. If the neutron star was going crazy somewhere far away in another galaxy, we'd only see it in the shape of a distant flashing light that we call a pulsar. But this way, boom! Ready for this? You will not be able to leave the confines of a bath of any type for an entire month, and you will be provided with food and drink that your friends will take turns to deliver. You'll be able to constantly adjust the water temperature whenever you like, so that the water won't get too cold. You're getting excited, and you're confident that you'll earn quite a bundle of cash, equating to several $100s when you last the entire month. It's the bet you made with your friends only a short time ago from within your simple fishing village where you were sitting with your friends at a bar. Little did you know that it would lead to this from a simple conversation. You had been discussing the evolution of mankind, and the conversation mainly focused on the potential that humans could have moved towards evolving to water-based mammals, potentially becoming merpeople. The facts are all in evolution, you tried stating to your friends. Your friends weren't convinced, even with your example regarding getting wrinkly fingers from being in the water for too long, an evolutionary trait we humans adapted to ensure we have grip whilst fishing with our hands in water. Of course, your friends don't see how this could relate to the possible evolution towards becoming a mer-person. You felt the need to prove them all wrong. As your friends sat around enjoying themselves, moving on from the conversation of aquatic evolution, you thought hard. How can I prove them wrong? Then it came to you. You stood up, finger pointing to the sky, and said, "I bet I can stay in a bathtub for an entire month." And here you are now, following the arrangements you seem to have doubts about. Knowing about particular human evolution reignites confidence and understanding in you that there have been some instances in human history where people have adapted naturally to live with their sea-based lives. So this feels like a safe bet. For example, the sea nomads in Southeast Asia have been fishing for 1,000 years in their unique way. Diving deep into the water to catch their fish, armed with just a spear, these sea nomads have adapted to grow larger over the centuries. It allowed more oxygen cells to be pumped through vital organs and more oxygen to be stored for their deep water dives. This understanding gives you confidence as you await the first day of the bet. During the first few hours, you seem fine. In fact, you find it to be easy and joke throughout the first day, bragging how this will be the easiest money you'd win and what you plan to buy with it all. You sleep well through the first night, but little do you know that your skin absorbs the water in the bathtub as you sleep. With each passing hour, more water enters your skin. Between the two layers, water bubbles form, creating visible lumps on the outer layer of your skin. As you awake the following day, you're slightly alarmed to see the transformation of your skin. You look over your hands. They are all white, with the skin crumbling away, and your arms are covered with large lumps of liquid. It's not a pretty sight. You hear someone coming into the bathroom, and you try to calm yourself down. It's only the first day after all. You just need to toughen up. You need to win this bet, not only for the money, but also for argument's sake. Your friend enters the bathroom with a tray of food, and your friend's facial expression soon turns pale as they see the lumps on your arms. Concerned, they ask if you're okay, and surprisingly, you do feel just fine, and respond that you're just a bit itchy. You're pretty curious how there's no pain, given the sight of your arms. Without thinking, you begin to scratch the large bubbles on your arms. You continue to rub your arm to see the skin's reaction. You now have a freeing feeling as your arms are exposed, as though you have removed unnecessary weight. You find yourself with a new layer of scales in place of skin. Your friend requests that the bet must end, given the sudden change to your appearance. You argue that you're okay and that you want to continue. There's just too much at stake, and you want to win this bet desperately. As your friend accepts this and leaves, you request an upgrade to a jacuzzi. You're soon upgraded to the jacuzzi, and by now, not only do your friends come to visit you, but members of the village visit curiously, as events like this don't stay secret long in such a small, simple village. As days go by, more scales appear in place of your skin, covering your legs, arms, and your lower back. Your skin is still visible throughout most of your body, but the scales are spreading quickly, similar to a rash. It doesn't take long before you get tired of the jacuzzi, and your friends are happy to support an upgrade to the village's swimming pool next to the seaside. You're now in the final week of the bet, and by now, the entire village knows about you, the Merman. What you find to be incredible, though, is that as the people visit you in the pool, there's no fear or judgment. The people are just overjoyed and intrigued at the spectacle of it all. The pool is large, but it isn't heated. A teenager asks you whether you're warm enough, but you don't notice the cold at all and feel pretty comfortable. Your diet has now changed significantly. You prefer primarily fish. Webbing has grown between your fingers and toes, and small slits on both sides of your ribs have opened, forming gills to allow you to breathe underwater. As you continue to evolve, you keep trying to reassure yourself that it's just a little longer, and that winning this bet was all that mattered. You think back to almost a month ago when you and your friends placed down your bets, thinking of the cash. Oh, several $100s. It'll all be worth it soon. And besides, you could always devolve back to normal. This will only be temporary, surely. The final day of the bet finally arrives. A great party has been arranged to celebrate your victory. The entire village attends the celebration. There's a band and a great feast for all to eat. You enjoy yourself with the villagers, preferring to stay in the pool, of course. Teenagers throw fish to you, and you catch the fish in your mouth, laughing at your own expense. You jump into the air, performing tricks to the villagers who applaud with every trick. As the party goes on, you slowly break away from the celebration, watching on by yourself in your pool. You feel yourself growing tired of the festivities and the attention. You look on as the villagers laugh and party. You think you're somewhat out of place swimming alone within this simple village. You feel a sudden urge to leave, and you no longer care about the celebration. You have no interest in the money from the bet. You're not bothered that you proved everyone wrong. You only feel the desire to be free. You swim to the edge of the pool. It's dark, so no one can see your attempt to escape. As you pull yourself out, the weight of your body out of the water is so heavy, and your legs and arms are so weak that you collapse and have to crawl very slowly towards the beach. Eventually, you make it to the edge of the shallows, and you collapse as you make it to the water, out of breath. The small saltwater waves you feel splashing on your face reinvigorate you after your exhausting journey. Once you've gathered enough energy, you begin to swim towards deeper water. And like a fish to water, you swim with ease. The feeling you have now, swimming in the sea, is like you had been in a cage all of your life. Now you're finally free. The exhilarating feeling of the water with unlimited space seems like heaven to you. As you swim further into the sea, you stop suddenly to look back at the village for just a moment. You pause and watch the town that was once all you knew, and you listen to the muffled sounds in the distance, reflecting on the life you had within the village. You feel no emotions as you look back, with no regrets or remorse. And then you dive underwater, ready to begin your new life under the sea.
Today, we trek into a mysterious cave teeming with treacherous traps. They will test how your brain works in extreme conditions. And if you pass them all and come out alive, congrats! You have ultimate survival skills. Please remember to share your results in the comments. Here we go. You enter the cave and find yourself in a pretty large hall where strange little people in weird masks meet and greet you. They take you to a table in the middle of the hall, and they seat you in front of it, gently but firmly. One of the masked individuals puts 3 muffins on the table before you. You're pleasantly surprised by their hospitality, but they start sneering under the masks, and you realize there's something wrong with the treats. It's the first trap. The person who laid out the muffins on the table explains what's inside the muffins in a creaky voice. The first one has some boiled nettle leaves in it. The second one is swarming with live ants. And the third one is seemingly filled with chocolate, but it's actually mud. So, which one would you choose to eat? Well, live ants and mud are a no-go for sure. Even though ants might actually be edible, who knows what species they belong to? And it's also yucky, truth be told. But surprisingly, boiled nettle leaves are a-okay to eat, despite nettle being a plant that burns your skin upon touch. It only does so when it's fresh. Boiled leaves lose their burning quality, and nettle soup is an actual dish in many cultures, so we settle for the nettles. You've happily wolfed down the nettle muffin, quite yummy by the way, and the little masked people let you through to the next chamber. As you walk down the hall, suddenly the floor starts shaking, and before you can leap to safety, it crumbles beneath your feet, falling down and taking you with it. You hit the floor, rise to your feet, and when the dust settles, you see you've ended up in a room with 3 doors. Great, it's another trap. Each door has a warning sign on it, and there's also a panel with 3 levers marked A, B, and C, of course. Each of the levers opens a specific combination of doors, not just a single one. The sign on the first door says it contains swarms of mosquitoes just waiting to drink you dry. There is toxic gas behind the second door, which will fill the chamber you're in as soon as you open the door. And the third door releases a powerful stream of water that will wash away everything it hits, but it will only last 30 seconds. The A lever opens the mosquito door and the gas door. Lever B will open the gas door and the water door. And the C lever will release the stream of water and the mosquitoes. Oh goody. Which one would you pull? If you chose the C lever, you're either fortunate or have outstanding survival instincts. This combination will get you out of the trap. 30 seconds of a mighty torrent are just enough to get rid of any swarm of mosquitoes. The water and gas combo would do nothing useful, as the gas would not be washed away. And as for gas plus mosquitoes, well, you might get rid of the insects, but it wouldn't save you from the gas either. Now you dry yourself as you can after the shower and walk out of the room you were trapped in, waiting for another trap to show up. Bang! A huge boulder falls right behind you and starts rolling your way. You run away from it and duck into an alcove in the wall to your side. The boulder rolls past and you sigh in relief. You walk further and reach a straight hallway with rounded walls and a ceiling that slopes downwards. With a thunderous crash, another boulder smashes through the ceiling and comes barreling towards you fast. The boulder fits the tunnel perfectly, and there's no hiding place to get away from it now. A few feet ahead of you are a series of tripwires that stretch from floor to ceiling close to each other. They're very sensitive, and each one will cause a bottomless pit to open right beneath your feet if you touch it. To your left is another alcove in the wall, but if you attempt to squeeze into it, the boulder will press you with some force against the wall as it passes, and the wall has nails sticking out of it from floor to ceiling. Down by your feet is a hole in the floor, but it's only a couple of inches deep. On the bright side, there are no nails in it. So, what's your choice? A. Try to slip between the tripwires. B. Squeeze yourself into the nailed wall. Or C. Lie down in the hole in the floor. Even if you're skinny enough to gingerly slip past the tripwires without touching them, it requires some time to do so, and you don't have that luxury. The boulder is rolling right behind you, remember? Also, there's a very high risk of activating the wires and getting flung into the abyss. The hole in the floor looks like the safest option, but it's only a couple of inches deep. Unless you're just a couple of inches thick yourself, you have every chance of becoming so, thanks to the boulder behind your back. In fact, the alcove in the wall with the nails in it is your only chance of survival. Remember yogis and magicians who can sit on a bed of nails without any harm? They can do that because the principles of pressure work in this case. Pressure is force divided by area. The larger the area, the less the force, and vice versa. So, even if you're pressed against the nails in the wall pretty hard, they won't even break your skin because the surface area of your body is large enough to prevent that. Whew! You take a deep breath after the boulder rolls past you and go down the passage to find yourself in the next chamber. The first thing you see is a door with a large lock at the other end of the room and a timer right above it. It shows 60 minutes, and the countdown starts as soon as you enter the chamber. There, you notice 3 large transparent jars on the right-hand wall. Each of them contains a key, which seems to fit the lock on the door. But there's an unpleasant surprise in each of the jars, too. The first jar has venomous snakes inside. The second one is full of acid, and the third one is filled with boiling hot water. You have nothing to use to get the keys out of the jar but your own hands, and the timer goes on ticking. Which jar should you choose? Snakes won't bite unless you scare them, and trying to get the key from their jar definitely qualifies as a scary action, so don't even try that one. Acid isn't an excellent choice either, obviously. The timer is actually a hint. Hot water cools down with time, and an hour is more than enough for it to become lukewarm. Just wait until it's cool enough to be bearable and get that key. You happily open the door and find yourself in an open sunny glade somewhere deep in the unknown woods. You've made it out, but how do you get back home? In the sky, you see a helicopter flying by. It seems they don't see you. The chopper almost flies away, and you need to do something quick to make the pilot notice you. In the grass in front of you, there's a box of matches, a pile of large twigs, and a pocket mirror. What should you do? Well, you don't have time to build a fire. Your best bet is the mirror. Catch a ray of sunlight and point its reflection at the helicopter, trying to hit the windscreen with it. Yes, you've been spotted! The pilot brings the chopper down, and you've successfully escaped the treacherous cave. Okay, fess up. What's your result? Well, you finally made it. After all that training, you're ready for your first skydive. Full of confidence, you reach the door of the plane as it gets to 12,000 feet. You step off into the air, but at the last second, you hear the instructor screaming something. "Sorry, I didn't check your chute." Well, you can't hear him as you drop away from the plane, seeing only his concerned expression. Well, feels like something has gone wrong. You pull the handle to release the parachute, but it hasn't deployed correctly, opening into a big wad, and you're now spinning faster and faster. You're getting dizzy, but you need to pull yourself together. Each second is crucial, and from this altitude, you have less than a minute to act. You throw yourself into the Bowman formation, spreading your body out with your arms and legs forming a big X. This creates a little more drag, allowing you to stabilize a bit. Hey, this whole thing is a drag. Now you have more time to get to your emergency reserve chute. Still dizzy from spinning, you try to remember where it is. You grab what you think is the right strap and pull it hard. Oh no, that's a leg strap. You've loosened the container on your back, and now you're slipping out. This is not your lucky day. You hold on and tighten up the leg strap. Oh yeah, the safety procedure is coming back to you now. Step 1, cut away from the main parachute with the red handle. Done! Now you're in free fall again. Step 2, now find the silver ripcord handle to pop the reserve chute. Gotta hurry, the ground is rushing up at you. Where's that handle? Whoops, there it is, sitting on your chest on the left. You yank it hard. Ka-thump! The chute flies out and deploys and slams the brake on your descent. Now you're relieved. Breathtaking? Heart-pounding? Oh yeah! Finally, you can enjoy the view. For about 10 seconds before you land on the ground. Softly, feet first. Hey, looks like fun. Sign me up. On another day, as always, instead of taking the stairs, you use the elevator. Now the odds of it falling are 1 in 10 million. You're 10 times more likely to be hit by lightning. But today, you're in that unlucky elevator. As you move down from the 5th floor, the pulley system fails, a cable snaps, and the elevator starts falling. Quickly, you lie down on your back, placing one arm around your head to protect it from the impact, and the other arm over your face to save it from possible falling objects. You spread your legs out evenly. In just a couple of seconds, you brace for impact. It crashes down, and debris from above falls around you. Fantastic job! You've avoided injury. But could it be possible to alter the impact by jumping? Well, let's think this through. If you jump too early, your impact would be more severe as your speed would increase in the descent. And if you jump too late, the velocity of your jump upwards would cause you to bump your head as the elevator would have stopped. You need to jump at the precise moment to be effective in velocity, and without the ability to see through steel, it would be down to sheer luck. So it's better to use the lie-down method. Yeah, good luck with that. You casually drive to work, passing over the same bridge as any other day. Today, there's more traffic than normal, and you're stuck in a jam. The bridge starts to creak. Unfortunately, it's possible for structurally faulty bridges to collapse under excess weight. And there you are. As the bridge falls into the river, your car floats on top. The water is slowly rising around you as it starts to sink. You're trying to remain calm and take a deep breath. You have up to 2 minutes before the car completely sinks. You need to act fast and roll down the window. As you take off your seatbelt, you notice the water has risen above the windows. You try to roll them down, but they're stuck in place from the pressure. You've missed your opportunity. You're sinking further down and thinking about opening the door. Better not. This will make your vehicle sink even faster. Plus, it'll be more dangerous to exit. The car hits bottom, and the water is slowly entering it. You try to open the door, but the pressure is so intense that it won't budge. You think about the water coming in. Maybe if you waited until there's enough water inside, it could regulate the pressure, allowing the doors to open. But with the limited air that would remain, and if the doors still don't work, that's too much of a risk. Your only choice is to smash the window. You can do it easily due to the water pressure, and it spills in quickly. You take your last deep breath while holding onto the window frame. The car fills in quickly, and the suction suddenly stops. You pull yourself through the window and place your feet on the car, push upwards, and swim to the surface. Yeah, remind me not to carpool with you. Next, you're out hiking in a forest and find the perfect place to view the sunset. You take a photo, and it looks great. But wait, which way is it back to camp? It's getting dark, and you have no idea how you got here. You check your phone. It has a map, so you'll be fine, right? Well, you've taken way too many nature pics, and the battery has run out. You can survive up to 3 hours without shelter in harsh weather. You can go without water for 3 days, and up to 3 weeks without food. You need to address your next actions in order of importance. So your first task is to build a shelter. You lean a large stick onto a tree for the roof support. Then you build 2 walls on the sides, making a sturdy frame. There are plenty of leaves in the forest, and you cover the roof with heaps of them for insulation and protection. On the inside, you build a nice leafy mattress. You enter and wait until morning, hoping to have a relaxing sleep. Well, you've slept horribly, but there's no time to leave a review on your booking app. The next task is finding water. You follow a clear decline in the land, eventually finding a stream. Clean water? Check. You continue to walk with the stream's flow, hoping it leads you to a river. You are more likely to find people and signs of civilization along large collections of water. Hours pass and your belly grumbles. You look around for tasty snacks. There are berries and mushrooms, but you don't recognize them. So it's better not to eat something if you're unsure whether it's poisonous. You search under old logs and branches for bugs. You've found some mealworms that can be eaten raw. Some insects, when cooked, can be a major source of iron, protein, and vitamin B12. You look at them and your appetite goes away. Maybe later. Finally, the stream connects to a river, and just ahead of that, a bridge. Not the one that fell down. Well, the struggle is over. You throw the bugs away and begin the next adventure, finding a diner. Yeah, we're not going camping together either. Next, you're walking in a field. The wind is picking up, and not far away, a tornado is forming. You start running away from it, but you can't outrun it as it travels up to 60 miles per hour. Your main concern isn't the tornado itself, but the trees and buildings that the twister takes in, turning them into dangerous flying objects. They fly at crazy speeds as they're carried by fast winds, reaching up to 300 miles per hour. You look for shelter, but there's nothing available. Your only possibility is a ditch that's not surrounded by trees or other breakable objects. You lie wedged in a ditch and cover your head with your jacket, holding it down with your arms for protection. While lying flat, with that thundering noise around you, you feel like you're in a giant jet engine. It's a terrifying sound, but luckily, you're not in the tornado's pathway. You can hear the small debris whistling over your head, and many make an impact, thudding all around you, but thankfully they miss. Suddenly, everything goes calm. You lie there controlling your breathing, trying to relax. You don't get up, not yet, as the worst may be yet to come. Tornadoes can last from several seconds to up to an hour. You're not taking your chances and remain in your ditch for the full hour. But finally, when it's clear that it's gone, you dust off your jacket and head home. Meanwhile, you're really bad luck, so I'm removing you from my contacts and unfriending you on social media. And I'll do that once I get out of the hospital. Okay, you're falling off a cliff. You somehow didn't know about her boyfriend. Dang, you're in a tight spot. Time to break the way down into several parts. Try grabbing anything you see as you plummet. Shrubs, trees, or rocks. This way, you divide a long fall into several short ones. With each new fall, the impact will decrease. If enough of the impact is absorbed, it means you've got a better chance of survival and another chance at love, but not with her. Same for if you drop out a window. Try to cling to anything on your way. It probably won't hold you, but at least you'll have several falling intervals to help decrease your speed. A canopy to stop you can be a real lifesaver, no matter if it's plastic or glass. It'll hurt either way, but you'll survive. Maybe. You also need to bend your knees a little. If bent, your legs will touch the ground simultaneously, and the consequences will be less severe. Another tip is that whenever you land, try to do so on the tips of your toes and never on straight and locked legs. Don't forget to cover your head with your arms. They will help protect your noggin, no matter if you land on concrete or in a puddle of mud. Now, quicksand is not as dangerous as shown in movies. If you get stuck in quicksand, dang, you're in a tight spot. First off, stay calm. Then, you're not likely to sink more than up to your waist. Toss away anything that makes you heavier. Shoes, bags, even clothing. Wiggle your legs to create room for water. It'll help you get away. Your arms should always be up. Try floating, but not on your stomach. Move backward with small steps. Big steps are harder to take, so it'll take longer to get out. When you reach solid surface, roll out of that quicksand. Surviving a wild animal attack may be challenging, but a crowd of people is not any less dangerous. The crowd may move like a fluid, not letting you escape. If you're trapped between hundreds of people, dang, you're in a tight spot. Rule number 1 is not to stop. Stopping is the fastest way to fall. If you actually do fall, make an air pocket. Your arms should be placed above your face and chest, embracing them. If you manage to stay upright, as soon as you feel the surge coming, move with it and sideways at the same time. If you're lost in the wilderness and need to go fishing, you can use a can tab. Shape it in the form of a hook. Cut it at a slant and trim off the metal to make it look like an actual hook. The main thing is to create a sharp point. A can also become a makeshift cooker. Take a can and cut out a hole from the side. Put some kindling inside and set it on fire. You can fry an egg on top of it. Dental floss can be super handy for surviving in the wilderness. First, use it as a fishing line together with a can tab hook. It can also serve as a clothesline stretched between two trees. It's thin, yet a single strand can hold up to 5 pounds. You can make a spear by binding a long stick and a knife together with dental floss. It's also quite flammable, so if you don't have any kindling to set larger pieces of wood on fire, try burning it. Dental floss can also be great makeshift shoelaces. A simple plastic bottle can make a very strong rope if you have a good knife. First, you need to find a small stump. It should have a diameter about the same as your bottle. Make a slit across the middle of the stump. Then cut a notch out of the stump large enough for your knife blade to fit inside. Cut off the bottleneck and make a small notch on its edge. Its width depends on the rope width you want. Place the edge of the bottle inside the center slit and put the knife in the notch in the stump with the blade towards the slit. Start slowly dragging the bottle through the slit. You'll see the bottle spin. As it spins, the blade will cut out the rope. You can use it to build a hut because it can secure logs really well. Now, a human can go several days without food, but there's no way we can survive without water. Water in the wild can be delicious sometimes, but if you feel like it's not safe to drink, you may need a makeshift water filter. Start with a fire. Boiling water may not be enough, so as soon as the fire ashes are cold, grind them to a powdery consistency. Don't use charcoal you randomly found in the forest. You never know what's in there. Then you need a plastic bottle. Cut off the bottom and make a hole in the cap. Turn it upside down, put in some charcoal, 3 inches are enough, and pour the water over it. The dripping water is ready to drink. To catch any excess charcoal, wrap the cap with a piece of clean cloth for extra filtration. Okay, you're getting hungry and you probably need to start a fire. Dang, you just don't have any matches or a lighter. Empty your pockets to see if you can make a makeshift fire starter. If you have a battery, probably the one from your flashlight, and a gum wrapper, that's enough. You need to cut a thin strip of the foil wrapper, yet long enough to connect the 2 ends of the battery. The middle of the strip should be slimmer than the ends. Get closer to the pile of dry grass, small logs, or even some paper, whatever you're going to use to start your fire. The foil strip will ignite in seconds, setting the kindling on fire. Mosquitoes are a real pain, and there are loads of them in the woods. You can make your own DIY repellent to keep those bad guys away. All you need is an orange, a lemon, or any other citrus fruit that's full of essential oils. Peel an orange and rub the peel directly on your skin, crumpling it a bit beforehand to make those precious essential oils come out. One more useful way of keeping mosquitoes at bay is to add a few orange peels to your tinder. While burning, the essential oils will release and frighten those pesky guys away. If you want to send a signal that you're lost and it's an emergency, cover 3 small fires with any green vegetation, like grass, and then cover it again with some wet fabric. You'll have big white smoke puffs. 3 puffs in a row means emergency. Adding some oil to your fire will turn the smoke black. If you don't have oil, use birch bark instead. Remember, the higher you start the fire, the better, so climb to a visible area. If someone has your hands tied together, dang, you're in a tight spot. The first thing to do is move your wrists to loosen that tie. Ropes can usually be cut through with friction against hard and sharp objects. If you're tied up with a zip tie, try to break it. Clench your fists, press the knuckles together, raise your hands above your head, and then bring them down sharply. The pressure will snap the tie. You may also try to slip out of the zip-tied knot. First, clench your fists. The wrists will go larger like this, widening the bonds. When you relax your hands, the bonds loosen, so you may slip out. Duct tape can be chewed through, or if you moisten it, it will turn softer and easy to loosen. You can even moisten it with your saliva. Crossing a water current may be more dangerous than it seems. When crossing, choose a straight and wide section. Before stepping into the water, check if the current's not too fast. Throw a stick in it, and if it moves faster than your average walking pace, consider crossing at a different location. Or you could just look around for a boat that's nearby. No need to be silly about it. You can turn ordinary matches into waterproof ones. Apply a thin coat of nail polish to the matches and let it dry. Once they're ready, they'll stay dry enough to start a fire even if you drop the matches in the water. If you get lost somewhere during the winter and need a drink, then don't eat snow. It has much more air than water, so you won't even feel much more hydrated. Your body also wastes a lot of energy trying to eat it. Even worse, you might lower your body temperature and could even get sick. If you find yourself face to face with a coyote or a wolf, don't turn your back. Slowly retreat while facing the animal. This might only work for a single animal though. If you meet a pack, then the most important thing is to make sure that they don't surround you. Back away towards a tree and press your back against it. Then choose the right moment and climb it as quickly as possible. Several layers of clothing will warm you better than one warm fur coat or down jacket. Air will be trapped between the clothing layers, insulating you and keeping your body warm. If you get lost in the woods, always try to sleep a little above the ground. You can lay on a layer of branches and leaves as a makeshift bed, or stretch a hammock out between some trees. At night, the temperature drops and the ground becomes cold. Even if you build a fire, it could go out while you sleep, and the ground will be sapping your body heat. You're in a boat in the middle of the sea, no food, no fishing net, and you're hungry. It was supposed to be only a 3-hour tour. Well, guess what? You can catch fish with the help of shoelaces and any object – phone, watch, or keys. The shadow cast by the boat in the sea can attract fish, and a reflective object can work as bait. Tie your keys to your shoelaces and use them as a fishing rod. Even if a fish doesn't bite, activities like this are a good way to maintain a healthy mind on the open sea. A short meditation can save you from a panic attack. You need to focus on your breathing and try to slow it down. Your brain will quickly calm down and turn its focus away from the panic. Oxygen masks in airplanes work on the same principle. When you control your breathing, your attention is redirected away from whatever bad thing is happening. You can make a torch out of a log. Put a small log vertically, make a deep star-shaped cut on the top. Put dry grass, leaves, and sticks inside. Once you're done, set fire to the log and watch it burn for up to 3 hours. This should work the same regardless of the size and type of wood. Now, if you meet an angry grizzly bear, never try to run away because the bear can easily outrun you. Instead, lie down and don't move. Grizzlies only usually attack when they see a threat, so they'll often leave you alone if you show them that you won't cause them any problems. This only works with grizzly bears though. If a confrontation is unavoidable, back away slowly and use bear spray. If you don't have any, pepper spray will work similarly and should disorient the bear and scare it away. Or not. Don't eat berries or mushrooms in the forest if you don't know exactly what they are. They could be poisonous. If you have no other option, eat the inner bark of maples, birches, and pines to fill your stomach. Use a knife to cut away the rough outer bark and get to the softer white stuff. You can boil it to make it even softer, or cook it over an open fire to make a crunchy snack. And if you're really starving, you can look for ants. They might not be the most appetizing, but they're pretty nutritious. If you don't have a watch, you can use your fingers to find out how much time is left until sunset. Raise your hand so the inside of your palm is facing you. Your fingers should be between the sun and the horizon line. See how many fingers can fit in this space. The thickness of one finger equals about 15 minutes, so you can calculate the time left before sunset. If you're lost and need to build a fire to attract attention, throw in a lot of pine, cedar branches, cones, and any unnecessary rubber objects. Your fire will emit more black smoke, which makes it visible from afar. If you have no water in the desert but have some food, try to avoid eating for as long as you can. The more you eat, the more thirsty you'll get. The body needs liquid to digest food, so it'll use up what little you have. A person can live much longer without food than without water, so don't be afraid to stay hungry. Hey, you found a huge puddle of dirty water in the forest. If you're desperate for a drink, you can fill your bottle and filter it into drinking water. To clean it, make a rope of gauze or clothing. Put one end into the dirty bottle and the other one into the empty one. Before long, the clean water will flow into the empty bottle through the rope, while the impurities are left behind. Before hiking, replace your regular shoelaces with paracord shoelaces. If you don't have enough rope, these laces can give you a few extra feet in a pinch. If you're lost in the forest and have nothing to warm you, then take dry leaves and grass from the ground and put it between 2 layers of clothing. This will help you stay warm for a long time. When you're lost in the desert, try to move as little as possible during the day. Find a shadow or create it from improvised materials and sit in the shade until dark. At night, you'll spend much less energy and use up less fluid while you walk. This will help you to avoid the risk of a heat stroke. If you fall through some ice, don't try to get out like you would in a pool. If you put your hands on the ice and try to push yourself out with your arms, it could crack and make you fall back into the water. You need to stretch your arms parallel to the ice surface and stretch your legs way back so they float in the water. In this horizontal position, start waving your legs as if you're swimming. Move your arms carefully without putting too much weight on the ice, and you should be able to escape. If you need to build a fire while it's too windy, here's what to do. Dig 2 holes next to each other and create a small underground tunnel between them. Make a fire in one of the pits. The wind can't extinguish it, and the fire gets its air through the second pit. This method is also useful if you need to build a fire without drawing attention. In the dark, this kind of fire won't be visible. Don't throw away or pop bubble wrap. Take it on a hike with you. It will protect you from the cold better than even a thick blanket would. Those tiny air bubbles are perfect insulation. Just put it in between layers of clothing and it'll stop any warmth from escaping. The plastic it's made of is also waterproof, so it can stop you from getting wet too. Swimming in the sea not far from the shore, you can easily get swept up in rip currents. If this happens, the most important thing to remember is not to swim against the current. This will only waste your strength and sap your energy, and you're unlikely to ever overpower an ocean current. Instead, try to swim sideways along the shore. Sooner or later, you should get out of the current, and then you can safely swim to the beach. If you're stuck in a falling elevator, don't try to jump at the moment of collision. Don't take a sitting position or stand either. You need to lie on the floor, facing the ceiling. Spread your legs as wide as possible, cover your face with one hand, and put the other hand behind your head for protection. You reduce the pressure on your body in this position when you fall. Ooh, you're lost. A rescue helicopter flies over the forest, but you don't have a flare and don't have time to build a fire. Use a small mirror or phone screen to reflect the sunlight. Aim the light beam towards the helicopter. Rescuers should notice the glare and fly over to save you.
You're up to your neck in cold water. There's ice all around you. You've got to get out! When you're swimming in freezing cold water, your body can get a bit of a shock. Your reflexes might make you want to gasp, but don't. Just do your best to keep your head above water. Throw off any heavy objects like boots, jackets, or backpacks. When you reach some ice, don't just try and jump out. It's not exactly a swimming pool. Try to get into a horizontal position and use your strong legs to swim onto the ice. Use your hands to pull you out. Once you're on the surface, roll away from the edge, then crawl, then walk. If you're venturing into the wild, you may want to get some stuff ready beforehand. Make your own fire starter at home. Heat up some water in a pan, put a Pyrex container in there, and melt some paraffin wax inside it. Then take an egg carton and put some dryer lint in each section. Fill them with paraffin. Wait till it's all solid and cut out each little section. Just one of these little guys will make starting a fire way easier. Dental floss can be super handy for surviving in the wild. You can use it as fishing line with a can tab as a hook, or you can use it as a clothesline. Just stretch it between two trees. It looks kind of flimsy, but a single strand can hold up to 5 pounds. It's also quite flammable, so if you're having trouble starting a fire, you can use a few feet of floss to start it up. You can make a seriously strong rope using a simple plastic bottle if you have a good pair of scissors. Cut off the neck of the bottle so it looks like a tall and narrow cup. Then, start cutting it like some people peel an orange, round and round in a spiral. Try to keep it the same thickness the whole time. It'll be a lot longer and stronger than you're expecting. You can use it to tie sticks together to make a hut, or you can wrap it around your backpack in case it rips or something. Sugar might be damaging for your teeth, but it's got a pretty sweet superpower. Just pour some on a piece of cloth and use it like a Band-Aid. Oh, delicious. Mosquitoes can be a real pain, and there are loads of them around. You can make your own DIY repellent to keep those little guys away. All you need is an orange, a lemon, or any other citrus fruit. They're full of essential oils that mosquitoes can't stand. Peel an orange and rub the peel directly on your skin. Just make sure to crumple it a bit beforehand to help those precious essential oils come out. Another good way to keep the mosquitoes at bay is to add a bit of orange peel to your campfire. That releases the essential oils into the air. You're getting hungry, but you don't have anything to start a fire with. Empty your pockets. There might be something in there that you can use as a makeshift fire starter. If you have a battery and a metal chewing gum wrapper, you're in business. Cut a thin strip of the wrapper, long enough to connect the two sides of the battery. The middle of the strip should be thinner than the ends. Grab some dry grass, twigs, or even some paper, whatever you're going to use to start your fire. The foil strip should ignite right away, so make sure you're ready. A human can go surprisingly long without food, but not water. Depends where you are, but a lot of the time, it might not be safe to drink. You can make a DIY water filter. Start with a fire. Boiling the water may not be enough, so as soon as those ashes are cool, grind them into a powder. Don't just use any ash you randomly found in the forest. It might have some melted plastic on it or something. Then, you need a plastic bottle. Cut off the bottom and poke a small hole in the cap. Turn it upside down. Put about 3 inches of charcoal in and pour the boiled water in nice and slowly. The drips are ready to drink. If you're getting bits of ash in the water, wrap a piece of clean cloth around the cap for some extra filtration. A char cloth can come in handy if you're lost in the wild. To make it, you're going to need a metal container with a cover. Put a piece of cloth inside it and put the container into a fire for a few minutes. The cloth should end up getting a bit black around the edges, but still be intact. A char cloth catches fire super fast, even with an old school flint. If you're ever hiking in an anaconda's backyard, listen up. Stay away from shallow rivers because these giant snakes love to hang out there. If an anaconda decides to give you a little squeeze, don't exhale. Every time you do, the snake's gonna squeeze you a little bit tighter. Anacondas do have a weak spot though. They don't like their tail to be bitten. It's not exactly delicious, but it'll get the job done. Avalanches are pretty powerful, so remember these tips next time you're out on the slopes if things get a bit hairy. First off, cover your mouth. Use a scarf or some other piece of cloth, and don't let the snow in. Keep one arm straight above your head, and don't forget to dig out a little pocket in front of your face. That'll let you breathe for about a half hour. Get rid of anything heavy you're carrying, even if it's expensive. But make sure you hold onto your backpack. It's an extra layer of protection. And grab onto a tree if you see any. To get back to the surface, move like you're swimming straight up. Snow's just water anyway. If you ever somehow get trapped in a sinking car, don't panic and don't try to open the door. The water pressure from the outside will be too strong. You'll just waste valuable energy, and that door just won't open. The best way to escape is through the windows. Roll them down and swim away. If you're not a great swimmer, you can try to create your own makeshift flotation device, like a plastic bag with air trapped inside. tie a knot in it and make sure it's tight. A plastic bottle would work great, but one probably won't be enough. You can also use a raincoat or a pair of those waterproof pants. You can even use an upside-down trash can. If you have some car trouble at night, out in the woods for example, you need light to see what you're doing. All you need is a bottle of water or a jug, or even a pickle jar filled with water. Just strap it on a headlight and voila! The water will spread the light so you can see better. Perfect for setting up an emergency tent or finding wood for a fire. Mason jars, those pickle ones, are really handy when it comes to storing matches. If you're camping in a forest, it's really important to hide those matches away, somewhere dry and safe. To make it even more convenient, make a strikeable lid. Cut off the strips on the side of your matchboxes and glue them to the lid of your mason jar. Before your next big outdoor adventure, make sure you're all stocked up on dark chocolate. Chocolate is probably the most delicious survival food, but it's also one of the best. It's loaded with calories and helps keep your mood up. Plus, you don't need a fork, plate, or fire to prepare it. Last one for today, people. Still having trouble lighting that fire? Look no further than that bag of chips you secretly hid from your fellow campers. Corn-based chips are everywhere these days. And apart from tasting delicious and turning your fingers a weird color, they have one more trick up their sleeve. You can use them to start a fire. These kind of chips are flammable, so make a little mound of chips and keep that dry wood handy. They'll light in seconds.
Now, if you're falling from a great height, try to copy a skydiver's position. Your head and chest should face down. Spread your arms and legs and bend them at a 90-degree angle. If possible, choose a place to land. Bushes or haystacks can cushion your fall. Water surface is only safe if you fall from a height of no more than 150 feet. Before landing, try to position your body vertically. Remember that it's always better to fall forward than backward. Protect your head and neck with your arms locked together. Actually, none of this will save you, but it will give you something to do before they name the crater after you. Now, if you're plummeting from a cliff, do your best to break your fall down into several parts. The shorter they are, the better. Each of these parts will absorb some impact of the fall. This way you'll have much higher chances of surviving. Try to grab onto a sturdy object, like a bush or a rock on your way to the bottom. It'll slow you down. If you see a piece of wood or a plank, snatch it too. It might help to soften your fall when you hit the ground. Most importantly, don't hold your body stiff. This is likely to harm your internal organs. Cover your head and try to land on your feet with your knees slightly bent. In fact, once you hit, everything about you will be slightly bent. But hey, you gotta try. If a building you're in collapsed and you ended up under a pile of debris and rubble, try to keep your panic at bay. Yeah. Your main task now is to protect your breathing organs and make your air supply last as long as possible. If there's enough space, take off your shirt or t-shirt and tie its bottom in a knot. Then put it back on your head through the neck hole so that the knot is on top of your head. You'll get a makeshift hood that will protect your face from dust, sand, and debris. It will also provide you with a bit of oxygen while you're trying to get back to the surface. If you're stuck in a falling elevator, lie down on your back and try to occupy as much space as possible. Your body fat and muscles are compressible. They'll absorb some of the impact force. If you can't lie down, sit on the floor. It's still better than standing. Your backside will act like an airbag in a car. But whatever position you choose, cover your head. The best way to do it is to put one arm in front of your face and the other on the back of your neck. If you get stuck in the wilderness, first of all, find some water. Check low-lying areas. If there are mountains, look for water at the foot of the cliffs. If you manage to find some rainwater, don't let it stay in the container too long. It may go bad. Pay attention to ants climbing trees. They're likely to be traveling toward a source of moisture inside a tree. A bottle of water can help you start a fire if you keep it under direct sunlight long enough. The bottle will act as a lens, gathering all the heat in one spot. Use fire and smoke to signal for help. Cover the flames with a big branch or with a pan for 3 to 4 seconds. This will gather enough smoke. Then let this puff of smoke go. Now, if you've fallen through the ice, try to get back to its edge. Don't pull yourself out by grabbing it. The edge will keep breaking, and this will wear you down in no time. Kick your legs until your body is positioned horizontally in the water. After that, get out of the water and onto the ice. Once you've made it there, don't stand up. Your weight should be distributed over a larger area. Then the ice will be less likely to break. Start rolling toward the shore like seals do. If you have a muscle cramp while swimming, try to turn on your back and float this way. Massage the bottom of your foot or the part of your leg that feels tight. If you have a cramp in the back of your leg, bend it at the knee and pull it towards your chest. You should be still floating on your back. Try to relieve the cramp by pulling your toes inward. If you get caught in an indoor fire, stay low and crawl toward the nearest exit. The smoke usually rises toward the ceiling. That's why crouching might keep you from inhaling it. If you have a piece of cloth or a handkerchief, put it against your mouth. It'll act like a filter against the smoke. Fall to the ground and roll back and forth if your clothes have caught fire. If you do have a fire extinguisher, aim it at the base of the flames. It's much more effective. And keep in mind that if you break a window, you'll let in more oxygen, and this will feed the fire. And here's what you should do to stay safe during a natural disaster. If you see the area getting flooded while you're outside, run away from any streams, storm drains, or rivers. Try to get to higher ground. If you're stuck at home, move to the roof if you think it's safe enough. If a tornado is moving towards you and you don't have time to escape, find a ditch or some low place. Lie down and cover your head with your hands or clothes. If a tornado happens while you're inside and there's no basement in your house, hide in a bathtub. Use a pillow to protect your head from any kind of debris that may fall down. The plumbing in the bathroom walls adds structural strength to the place. But if your bathroom has windows or an exterior-facing wall, pick a more secure place, for example, a closet. The more walls separate you from the tornado, the better. If you're outside during a storm and you suddenly feel your hair stand on end, it's your cue lightning is about to strike. Your skin might start tingling, and you're likely to hear some clicking or buzzing sounds. Immediately crouch down and place your head between your knees. But even though you should be as low as possible, do not lie down. The only thing touching the ground should be the balls of your feet. Keep your heels together. This way, instead of running through your entire body, electricity is likely to go in one foot and out the other. You can also cover your ears with your hands to prevent hearing loss. If you're lost in the desert, travel during the early morning hours. This way, you'll be able to avoid most of the heat. If you see a hill or some other high ground, climb it and look around. You might spot some greenery, buildings, or a road. You won't have such an opportunity at night. Many desert animals also hunt after the sunset. And here's how you should act around wild animals. If a bull is charging at you, stand still until it comes close. Then throw a piece of clothing in the opposite direction. Bulls react to movements, and throwing a hat or a shirt away from you will distract the animal. It'll chase the moving object. If a shark is moving towards you, don't swim away in panic. You'll look like something the animal will want to eat. Wait until the shark gets closer and start hitting it with your fists. Aim at its eyes, nose, and gills. These are the only vulnerable areas on the animal's body. If you meet a pack of unfriendly dogs, distract them and move away quietly. If one of the dogs still lunges at you, place some object between yourself and the animal's jaws. Now, let's say you've accidentally disturbed a swarm of bees, and now they are coming after you. Run in a straight line as fast as possible until they stop chasing you. An even better alternative is to find some shelter. It can be your car, a house, or even a public bathroom, and hide inside. Now, if you accidentally meet a bear, introduce yourself. No, wait. Actually, everything will depend on what species it is. If it's a larger brown bear, fall down and pretend you've passed away. Shouldn't be hard. But if it's a smaller black bear, which rarely attacks people, shouting and making yourself look bigger may help. You may also try to scare the bear away by pretending to lunge at it. If you encounter a snake, try to be as quiet as possible. If there's an opportunity to walk away, go for it. But if you can avoid the reptile, raising your voice, banging two sticks together, or stomping your feet might make it retreat. Even though snakes don't have visible ears, they're sensitive to vibrations. And if all of these things happen to you on the same day, call the Guinness people. I think you've set some records. So, you're on vacation and things go horribly wrong. If you're falling from a cliff, do your best to break your way down to several parts. The shorter, the better. Each of the segments will absorb some impact of the fall, and you'll have much higher chances of surviving. Try to grab onto a sturdy object like a bush or a rock on your way to the bottom to slow down your movement. A piece of wood or a plank can also be useful. It might help you to soften your fall when you hit the ground. If your pan has caught fire, don't take it outside or try to put the fire out with water. It'll worsen the situation. Cover the flames with a metal lid. This way, you'll take away the source of oxygen. Your movement should be fast but smooth and calm. Remember to keep the lid between yourself and the flames. Leave it on until the pan has cooled. If a fire is tiny and manageable, you can use salt or baking soda to put it out. By the way, using baking powder, flour, and other cooking powders that look like salt or baking soda is a big no-no. They won't help you because their chemical makeup is different. If you find yourself in a panic-stricken crowd, your main task is to create some space around yourself. To do it, keep your hands by your chest, your arms bent at the elbow. Boxers often use this position to protect their vital organs. Don't cross the crowd's path. Move together with it, slowly drifting toward one of its sides. Be careful not to block anyone's way because, in this case, you can be pushed to the ground. If you're with your family, put the kid on your shoulders and let the weaker members of the family go in front of you. This way, you'll be able to control the movement and won't lose anyone. If someone's attacking you from behind on the street, stomp on their foot. Do it with all the strength you have and aim for the top of the foot. It can damage and even break several foot bones, which will make it difficult for the attacker to follow you. Now, if you get locked in a car trunk, try to send an SOS signal to people outside. To do it, look for the taillight's wires. There are usually at least 2 of them for each light. Find something sharp in the trunk and cut one of those wires. When you connect the ends again, the lights will flash. If your car brakes suddenly stop responding, ask the passengers, if you have any, to make sure their seatbelts are buckled. Then turn on the emergency lights. Inform other drivers you're having an emergency by using your car horn and long-range lights. With strong and abrupt moves, press the brake pedal. That's how you can create pressure in the braking system. After that, downshift carefully and put the gear shift into the L position. If your car has a mechanical gearbox, press the clutch pedal. After that, use manual brakes, but do it very slowly. A sudden movement and your car will begin to drift. To slow your car down, you can also try to turn left and right going from one row to another. If you've fallen through ice into freezing water, try to get back to the edge of the ice. Don't pull yourself out by grabbing it. The edge will keep breaking and you'll exhaust yourself in no time. Kick your legs until your body is positioned horizontally in the water. After that, get out of the water and onto the ice like a seal. Once you've made it there, don't stand up. Remain spread out. This way your weight will be distributed over a larger area. Then the ice will be less likely to break. The most effective way to help a person who's choking is to perform the Heimlich maneuver. But what if you choke while you're on your own? Well, make a fist with one hand and position the thumb side above your navel but below your ribcage. Grab this fist with your other hand and lean over a table edge or a chair. Then start pressing into the upper part of your abdomen using fast upward thrusts. Repeat them until the foreign object pops out. Or you can stand on your elbows and knees and then throw your arms forward really fast. You'll fall flat on the floor with your arms stretched out in front of you and your chest and stomach hitting the ground. It'll push the air out of your lungs and hopefully dislodge the object stuck in your airway. The whole process is going to be painful, but it can save your life. If you're at sea and spot a whirlpool coming toward you, don't panic. If you understand which way it's spinning, ride its side and use the whirlpool's current to catapult you out of danger. If you start fighting it, you're likely to get pulled inside. There's also a chance a whirlpool will dissolve or become weaker closer to the bottom. So if you do get trapped by it, take a deep breath and wait for an opportunity to swim away and up. If you're stuck in a falling elevator, lie down on your back and try to occupy as much space as possible. Your body fat and muscles are compressible. They'll absorb the impact force. If you can't lie down, opt for sitting. It's still better than standing. Your backside will act like an airbag in a car. But whatever position you take, try to cover your head. The best way to do it is to put one arm in front of your face and the other on the back of your neck. A lightning storm might catch you out in the open, and there will be nowhere to hide. Kneel or squat down with your head between your knees and your hands covering your ears. If there's a tall object in the area, stay away from it. There must be a distance of at least 2 objects' heights between you and this thing. Other people count too. So if you get caught in a storm with a group of friends, spread out until it's over. If you get trapped under some debris, for example during an earthquake, your main task is to protect your breathing organs. Plus, you have to make your air supply last as long as possible. Take your shirt off and tie its bottom in a knot. Then put it back on your head through the neck hole. The knot should be on the top of your head. This way, you'll get a makeshift hood that will protect your face from dust, sand, and debris. It will also provide you with a bit of oxygen while you're trying to get back to the surface. If you see a tornado closing in and you have no basement in your house, lie down in a bathtub. Use a pillow to protect your head from all kinds of debris that may fall down. Experts claim that the plumbing in the bathroom walls adds structural strength to this place. But if your bathroom has windows or an exterior-facing wall, opt for a more secure place, for example, a closet. The more walls that separate you from the tornado, the better. Smoke is the most life-threatening thing about a house fire. If you find yourself trapped in a burning building, stay low and crawl toward the nearest exit. The smoke usually rises up to the ceiling. That's why crouching might help you to avoid inhaling it. If you have a piece of cloth or a handkerchief, put it against your mouth. It'll act as a filter against the smoke. If you got stuck in quicksand, do all you can to keep your head and arms above the surface at all times. Start to carefully wiggle your legs. Quicksand should fill the space they once occupied. As soon as you can, stretch out on your back. It'll increase your surface area. Keep making tiny movements until your legs are free. You can also use backstroke motions with your arms. It'll help pull your legs out. If you've gotten caught in an avalanche and are being dragged along with a huge mass of snow, try to stay on top of it. To do it, make swimming motions with your whole body as if you were moving against the river current. When you feel the avalanche is slowing down, try to raise something over its surface. It can be your arm, leg, or a ski pole. This way, rescuers will find you more easily. With the other hand, make a small air pocket in front of your face. Try to slow down your breathing to save as much air as possible. Bottom line, if all these things keep happening to you over and over, you're not very lucky, are you? So please, don't invite me along on your next vacation. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright